There are many sources of power in the Sea of Thieves, but none more powerful than the Skull of Destiny. This fabled artifact has the ability to activate the Fort of the Damned, meaning that with its help, we could essentially control the activity of the whole server. Allow me to explain. So the plan was to buy some voyages and track down the skull itself, and fortunately for us, we just had to follow the little compass that kinda looks like... which eventually led us to where the skull was buried. I wanted to learn everything I could about this new toy of mine, and I was curious how much it sold for.
10 doubloons.
Yeah, I'm never doing that again. So we dug up another skull and sailed straight to the Fort of the Damned to test out just how powerful this Skull of Destiny really was. We used its flames to activate the fort and we began fighting the skeletons. But the second we started it, I heard a cannon shot in the distance.
I hear cannons to the right of us. Sloop that was running is out there. Wait, captained? The Sword Lord, captained by Little Ned. Is there a ship tucking? I think there's a ship tucking on us.
So Press Chef and I went to investigate. The ship we found trying to tuck on us belonged to none other than Sea of Thieves partner Blurbs, a legendary sword lord known for his skills in combat. Luckily, we were able to get the drop on him right as he returned to his ship.
Alright, we're going over.
It's
oh,
no.
Do you want me to... Are we fighting?
State your business, sir. Okay.
I just mind my own business.
Here's my business. Oh!
I'm all about business.
I wanted to give him a better fight since I one-balled him straight out the gate, so we let him reset his ship as we prepared for a rematch.
I need you on wheel. Turn us more.
Turning me more.
Oh, damn.
Oh, good hits there. He's about to...
Yep.
You want to raise up your sail so you can get angle again? Patched.
I love these hit sounds. Very nice.
Alright, I'm just going to keep bucking him.
Yeah, that's not good.
Should still have angle. Do you want to send me?
No. I just got his mask down. I don't want to do it like that yet.
Oh, he got it back up.
Yep.
Nice turn. Alright, sails are up all the way.
Okay.
Actually, no,
Don't do that.
behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, from behind.
Good stuff, dude.
Ooh, good hit there. Wonderful. Turn it a little more sharply.
Yep.
There you go. Dude, perfect spin. Okay.
Yeah, good stuff.
I'm gonna get these holes. Whether or not though.
For the Jade Dragon!
I'm gonna go over now.
Okay.
Yeah!
Of your boarding call?
One of many.
Don't come up. Then don't come up.
Okay, I'm waiting.
And Bear may not be out of food. Oh god. You just got coconut.
What's happening?
GG's,
GG's.
dude. Got him.
Sunk him?
Yeah, shout out to Blurbs, guys. That was awesome.
Shout out to Blur.
We ended up defeating Blurbs, but we didn't have any time to celebrate because two more ships were heading towards the Fort of the Damned like moths drawn to a flame. And there happened to be another world event that would come into play later in this tale.
We're gonna sell that.
Oh, the Fort of Fortune, okay. One of the nearby ships started getting closer to us as we were fighting the Fort of the Damned.
You need to go a little
State your
higher.
business.
Oh, hi! How's it going?
But as I went out to board...
Will there be any negotiations to be had today? You're sinking? Okay.
I'm gonna open fire on this other sloop.
Okay. This boat sank.
Chat says it must have been a streamer named Britty Bear who took a server or something. I don't really know. But we then turned our attention to the other sloop that had arrived at the fort, and that's when chaos broke out at the Fort of the Damned.
Right?
Yep.
You getting this?
Probably not, but I just want to know what we're up against. So, oh yeah, I will get this actually.
You got it.
Alright.
You good?
I shot one off, other one's here. Trying to ram him.
My shots aren't shooting. Is this guy from earlier?
I don't know.
Friendly?
No.
Hi.
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 I'm fighting 2 right now.
Okay, I'm gonna start putting some shots on.
Thank you. They're anchored. No, they killed me. Just don't lose the angle. Just keep firing at them. Get behind them.
Okay.
Cannons.
Whoa, dude! I just got one ball.
You did? From where?
Yeah, but like, oh my
Are
god.
you were behind them or were you in the broadside?
I was getting behind him. We were moving slow, but
Oh,
wow.
alright, I'm coming through. He's swimming over. Bro, you're supposed to stay behind.
Are we not behind?
No, obviously not.
Oh, I thought the mass was down a little bit.
What the heck? Where's he going? Yeah, we're gonna sink, dude.
Are we?
Why does he not? Yeah, he sword
I'm
dashed me
coming.
off.
I'm coming.
Get a bucket when you get here.
No, we were so close.
We unfortunately were sunk thanks to the extra long black screens, but Chef and I got back spawns and our cannon rowboat was barely still floating. So we decided to use whatever supplies we had left to get revenge on our skeletal adversaries.
I swear, I didn't think they were gonna have an angle. That's why I parked him. Or left.
Yep, I'm going left.
Yep. Come on, game.
Give me the board.
No. Definitely not. Jigging him.
Give that harpoon.
No,
What the hell?
no,
Spinning us.
no.
That's a border.
Alright, come on.
Boarded.
Oh,
How? I
I got you.
Okay, res me. That's so stupid. There's another one.
Okay.
I think I heard skelly noises. All right.
I'm rolling
Yep,
again.
do your thing.
There you go.
Nice. I got their mast.
Nice. We're coming in.
Yep. All right, get closer.
Gonna fight the cannon. There you go. There you go.
Just trying to run.
Back.
I'm gonna set them all on fire. I need more cannons.
There you go.
Turn us left.
Oh, I'm turning. Doing my best.
Got hit reg.
The angle's scrappy. I'm trying to turn.
It's okay. I know it's gonna keep doing that the more I shoot.
Do you want to go over?
No.
I can keep shooting.
No. Just get us.
Alright, getting this in.
Yep, they're gonna have to spam bucket. I'm gonna poison him here, okay? Turn us left.
Oh, he's about to pulling it up. I'm trying. There you go.
You had to get off.
Nice, dude. Okay, this makes up for it. Alright, I'm turning to the right.
Right?
Yeah, they're bucking like crazy. Do you want me to go on?
Yeah, you go.
I'm going.
I'm gonna give you cover to board.
Okay. Boarding.
Okay, wait, he's out there. Wait, don't board yet.
I'm not boarding.
He's on cannons.
Okay.
I got one balled. Dang it.
I just killed one.
Okay, kill the other.
He's dead. Yes,
Get him to
sir!
sink. Get him to sink. I'm gonna go get the boat.
Go get the boat. Yes, dude.
Yes.
Woo! Okay, that makes up for it.
Dude.
Oh my god, we're getting the goods.
Dude, yes! We were victorious in sinking their ship, but they also got black screens and were able to kill both of us. Our boat respawned up in the wild, so we had a long way to sail to get back to the Fort of the Damned. It turns out that those pirates we just fought were actually fans of the channel, so they ended up saying GG's in chat and proposed an agreement. Apparently, there was a third party involved that was fighting them in order to finish the fort, which they ended up completing. They fought over the key for a little bit before opening the vault. And as we approached, we noticed the ship that belonged to the people who were tucked on the Fort of the Damned, and we took the opportunity to sink their ship before returning to the fort and meeting up with our frenemies.
Working on the board. Actually, we gotta get the spatula, dude. That's
I know.
the goal
That's what
today.
the spatula, dude. I see him sorting. I see one. He's bucketing out of his mind. I'm gonna come help you. You
Dude,
dead?
no. Sword, bro. He's dead. What? No shot.
He's
I
dead.
blundered him in the face. Yeah. I blundered him in the face and then sniped him.
Nice. Holy toxie balls.
They both were at the Fort of the Damned.
Yep,
Yeah,
this
no,
guy's dead.
no.
All right, good work, team. We gathered what they had and made it to the fort. We then allied up with the crew that we fought earlier and decided to split the Fort of the Damned in half, since our next target was going to be the Fort of Fortune that had spawned earlier. I sent Press Chef to sell everything via rowboat as I chased down the ships near the fort. They managed to complete it before we got there, meaning the newest and most sought-after chest, the Chest of Fortune, was going to be aboard one of these ships. And judging by the fact that the Reaper was chasing another sloop, my guess was it was on that ship. So the entire server began fighting over our prey.
I'm going in. They're trying to sell it. Oh my god, this is so cool. Oh, hello, ship that is turned around. Skilly ship, no. Screw off. Waves. No, not an anchor. Come on.
I'm coming, XO.
Oh shoot, here they are, right in front of us.
What? Oh my god.
Oh my god, dude.
Does the chest show up on the map?
No.
Okay. Oh, Reaper shoot.
Hey,
yeah,
hey!
Reaper shoot.
I'm gonna harpoon him. Dang it. These guys are cracked on. Wraith ball time.
You got it.
Toxie ball
I killed him.
away!
I killed him. Yo, I killed him. He's resin.
And I'm gonna try to harpoon. I hit him once too. Buckets, buckets, chef, buckets.
I'm bucketing him.
Get your buckets.
Bucketing.
Okay.
Bucketing on them.
I gotta shoot out to get this Athena.
You go. I'm okay.
Oh my god. I'm out in front. Dang it, I missed.
It's okay. Turning hard.
Give us the chest and you can live! Dang it, how did my gun not reload? He's on the wheel. Is it a solo? Come on, man. No,
Alright.
no, not the Sovereigns.
You got it.
Yeah!
Go, boy, go!
I don't know if it's gonna be enough. I don't think it's enough, Chef.
You ready to go?
No, they're gonna just ram it. They still have it. One's in the water with it.
I can go too.
Can
if
you? No,
want.
yeah, go to, go to.
Alright, I'm going.
I don't know where the ladder is for them. There's a ladder right there. Oh, that was such a better one. You see him? You see him?
We're going. They're not here. My frames. They're going to the gold hoarder.
Don't know.
No, I don't see it. They're just turning.
Just stay there.
No.
Just stay there. Stay there.
I'm
I'll
here,
guard
I'm here, I'm here.
After scouring the port town, we couldn't find the Chest of Fortune or the pirate who jumped overboard, and we began to lose hope in securing the chest. So we decided to go back and try to fight for whatever loot was left. But as we did so, something caught my eye in the water.
Go out. No, I'm not. Turn left.
I'm turning left.
Saw something in the water. The chest! It's behind us! Oh my god!
Is
Turn
it?
around! Turn around! Yeah, turn
I'm
around!
turning.
Turn left, left. Turn hard left. Yeah.
I'm turning hard left.
Oh my god.
I'm so glad I kept going after him.
Yeah, dude. Dang it! I keep missing my chains.
See the birds. It's not west though.
No, the guy has it.
Okay. Yeah, I saw him in the water. I saw. Yeah.
Straighten out.
Straighting.
Yep.
Okay.
I see a merm on the right.
I'll jump in after I get this bucket.
No.
No?
No, because we can see him when he comes up for air.
I see the mermaid.
Yeah, there he is,
Alright,
there he is, there he is.
I
He
see
died!
him.
Oh my god!
Grab
Okay,
it!
I will.
Grab
Get
it,
closer,
XO.
get closer!
Yes!
Alright, straight.
Straightening.
Oh, there it is! Is there a dude? He's gone, wait. Anchor.
Left side.
Anchor. He's on our ladder, just hanging there. Left side.
Let's see. He's dead.
It's in the water.
And we got the chest. It's on
Yes!
the boat, EXO.
Get the anchor up!
I'm raising the anchor. We got the new chest.
Yes! Take a look. Oh my god, it looks like a Lego thing. It's like, look at it. It's so clunky and juicy. Make sure they don't hurt.
Some good business right there.
We had successfully stolen our very first chest of fortune, and were able to cash it in for a pretty penny. All thanks to that little flaming skull that started all this chaos in the first place. And that's why I believe the Skull of Destiny is the most powerful skull in Sea of Thieves.